Uranium stocks have recovered going into the weekend. I'm going to go over exactly why they did that. I added some uranium stocks because of the supply disruption, and Kazakhstan, the world's largest uranium producer, reiterated that the supply constraint for uranium could persist if things continue into the weekend. Now, in Kazakhstan, it already is 4:20 in the morning right now, so they are actually starting new protests. We're going to talk exactly what is going on over there and what it means for the uranium market that people really just do not understand. Even experts in uranium are not seeing this. There is a possible black swan event coming. I'm going to go over everything and give you my opinions with a lot of data out there, and a lot of big things are happening. The market overall today in the stock market was flat in the United States. So the fact that uranium stocks recovered so big into the weekend is a very positive sign for next week. It's pretty nice. We're seeing Forum again in the lead, 13% today. But you can see a lot of the bigger stocks in the US markets for uranium are up as well. Energy Fuels, they're up almost 7%. Now we did see this, very volatile all day. A lot of these stocks were NextGen 4.7%, UEC 5.43%, Cameco, second biggest uranium producer in the entire world, 4.18%. But you can see a bunch of the other stocks, even Denison Mines, they're up about 2%. And this was going up and down. There's been a lot of people coming back to the stocks wanting to trade them, but the real reason why is because Kazakhstan, the world's largest uranium producer, they do see high risks of disruptions on their Kazakhstan uranium projects, and we've seen a lot of protests already from the oil industry, and Kazakhstan has sad history with protests, especially with oil, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the company has came out to the market again. This was Bloomberg, and they were saying that all their offices and production facilities and their mines are operating normally, and they have enhanced security, and personnel are working remotely until conditions normalize. Well, this specifically actually in other articles said administrative personnel. Now, the thing is, right now it's very, very cold there. And I think a lot of people are probably not going in, but this company has about 21,000 employees. They're all spread out. They've got a lot of little companies, mines here and there. They've got offices, all over. But one big thing is one of their ISR mines, you can see it's pretty far from one of the latest cities in Kazakhstan that is actually seeing a bunch of protests, a bunch of the police department there. A lot of their vehicles were destroyed. Some people have been killed. And, this is a big trek for people that work for Kazakhstan. And remember, these people usually that work over here, they live and they'll go up and work at the mine there, and they live in southern, Kazakhstan. So if you were in their shoes, would you be going into work? Would you trust the police? Because this is what they're going against. This right here, this is specifically what is happening there. They're called the Kazakhstan Freedom Front. This is no joke. They've got weapons, and they're not really, it doesn't look like they're very afraid. And you can hear them speak here. So you can see they're not messing around here. So there are peaceful protests going on this weekend as well. In this town in Kazakhstan, they actually are protesting. They're the oil workers, and this town actually had thousands of oil workers that protested. This was back in 2011, and 14 were killed. So they're wanting to go back to the 1993 Constitution. They pretty much don't want government to have power like they do now. And there's a lot of corruption, the people have said. This is big. If we see Kazakhstan, if we see their workers, join in on this, and, they are striking, we could see a lot of people fired. Now, that's what happened. Thousands of these workers were fired back then. So, if you put two and two together, if these things happen and these workers stay home and they protest, they might not want to go in. They're working remotely. We know what that can do here in America when people work remotely. They might not want to ever go back in. And obviously, with Kazakhstan, it's very dangerous. And these people are very justified if they want to stay, for their family and stuff. So it's also a very dangerous trek. You never know. Are you going to run into, the forces there? This this right here is the town where most of Kazatomprom's, offices are. There's been massive violence here. And, like I said before, thousands and thousands of employees, live around this area that work. And, there's not only not any internet, as we can see right here. Let's refresh it. The website still of Kazatomprom is not working, but you can see that, if we're just talking about pure business, there's a lot of uncertainty. And this being the world's largest uranium producer, this is why things are starting to go up. And you can see here uranium prices, we've already hit plus, $47. This actually led, the day in commodities today. And for the year, everything in commodities is really up. We've pretty much seen everything, gas there in Europe and England, 18%, coal, 15%, uranium is up, 7.6%. This is likely going to continue to progress. As more people see people stand up, there's 18 million people in the country. If you see, thousands of people stand up, it might turn into hundreds of thousands and millions of people. So you never know what can really happen. Now, we really don't know what a 1993 constitution would be like for uranium, because remember, uranium was not really being mined back then. This was something in the early 2000s. It was really oil back then. So if we see uranium, in the country go back to a 1993 constitution, we could see a lot of changes in the way uranium and pretty much the market, operates and trades, because there's so much trade that goes through Kazakhstan, not only with oil, but obviously with uranium. In China and in the United States and, countries all over, in Russia, they all really, in a sense, depend on somewhat of Kazakhstan, especially for uranium. It's a big, big producer, obviously. So, with this going on in the hometown and in the city where literally Kazatomprom is at, it's going to have unrest in the market. I think next week, if things progress, that we could see uranium prices continue to go up, and uranium stocks obviously more than likely on Monday are going to gap up. So I did make some buys in the stock market for some short-term trades. It's not just the uranium companies that are seeing this. As I said, the oil workers. So Kazatomprom is not the only one. So some of the biggest oil producers there, they've actually had to alter their output at their oil fields because of the unrest and protests in the country. So there's been a temporary adjustment to the output, and this is due to logistics. I think the same thing could happen with uranium, which is a lot more risky, in my opinion, a lot more fragile. A lot of the workers there, they have gathered at the field and they've supported the protest. So these are professional people. Who is to say that the same thing won't happen at these uranium, these uranium places? There have been a lot of things that have happened with these big uranium companies in the past. And, we've seen supply disruptions, there at Cameco, and we've seen what it can do to the uranium supply. If this was oil and the same thing happened in Saudi Arabia, oil would already be up, 25+%, in a day. So uranium takes a little bit longer because a lot of the uranium is done in these long-term contracts, and we, see spot market, daily, but there's a lot less volume in that. So if these long-term contracts start back up, this is a lot bigger, a lot bigger than the spot market. And that's really what drives this uranium price, is the long-term contracts. So if we look at the overall stock market, I wanted to show you all this. This is actually the PE ratios of the overall stock market. And you can see everything is red. And this is meaning that it's a pretty high PE ratio. Pretty much everything. The only sector that you see some green, really, some really bright green is the energy sector, and then the financials, because obviously the financials have seen, they've been hit pretty hard in the last year. And, I really do think that we're in this weird area where a lot of money is going to continue to flow out of these, big sectors into commodities, into possibly uranium as well. And this is very positive for obviously commodities, obviously for uranium, but there could be major volatility in the markets. And we've never really seen uranium in a bull market where we had this much volume and this much money in the markets, and seeing what it could do if that money flows into commodities, into uranium. And this, in my opinion, has always been why I thought uranium could break $200, because we have, not only do we have this amount of money at the market peaks right now, you know, there's instant data. People can get instant information. Uranium is going to do massive runs if this money comes into not only the uranium stock sector, but also starts buying up this physical uranium. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, they have $104 million, and they might have actually raised more money again today, and they might have bought some more uranium today. They haven't bought much in the past, you know, couple weeks, but if we start seeing them buy lots of uranium, millions of pounds, we could really see that spot market, you know, price go up. Now they have 104 million pounds, and they've already stacked 41 million pounds of uranium. In the spot market for uranium, there's a lot of people. There are producers that can buy in the spot market. Utilities can as well. Traders, just everyday traders, you know, buying 100,000 pounds here or there, you know, and selling it for very small profits compared to obviously the amount of profits you make if you're a long-term trader, and processors as well. And then the big investors, this is the ones like Sprott, they're going to be buying up this uranium, and they won't be selling it back into the market. And we've never seen what this could do with this amount of volume in the markets, in the spot market, where it doesn't go back into the market. Essentially what Sprott Physical Uranium Trust is doing is they're reducing, in a sense, and buying back shares in the sense of uranium, of spot uranium. Although they are issuing shares of spot, they're buying back uranium that's already been made, that took years to make. They're literally in barrels, they're putting their names on it, and they're taking it and storing it, and they will not be bringing it back to the market. What we saw back in the day, this little bit of volume here that really started to run up these long-term contract prices, we saw a lot of that volume go back into the market. A lot of that volume from the spot volume, a lot of literally the uranium going back into the market. Who knows how much is left in the spot market? There's a lot less now, a lot less obviously from Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, but it's also from other sources like we just talked about, producers, utilities. They're buying this up and they're using it as well. Like these producers that buy it, you know, they likely have used it in the short term to refuel because their contracts are coming up, just like Kazatomprom said. So this is huge news. The world's largest producer of uranium is literally saying that their supply disruptions, they've already been saying this, that there's going to be, you know, they've said high risk of disruptions. Now they already called for risks of disruptions. Kazatomprom did. They've already called this. And now you add this to the mix. Uranium prices should already be in the spot market, should already be running over $50. I think that very soon, if this continues, they will be. Two stocks that I did buy up on the drop in the past 2 days were Energy Fuels and Denison Mines. Now, both of these stocks, you know, they do trade on the big boards. Now, this weekend, a lot of people have been asking if I'll do a Uranium Documentary 3 video. And if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will do it. I will push myself. I will get no sleep tonight. I've been, you know, making this for the past couple months, and things have changed with the market. So I've been waiting to push it out to see if people really want to see this Uranium Documentary 3 video. I think there's a lot of information out there that needs to be said to introduce the new investors to uranium, as well as paint the picture of where these things are going to even the seasoned investors out there. So I think next week's going to be really big for uranium. And if you guys like these videos, hit the like and subscribe button below. I'll keep you updated every minute of the way. Even if it's 3 a.m. this time and I feel like it needs to get out, I'll push out a video.